Just because we're
Should
recording
I
doesn't mean
should
anything at the moment.
should I use my karaoke mic for this? Be very professional. I could do sound effects too.
Oh, hold on.
It has a button that says funny voice. We could explore that together. Could be amazing.
Yeah, you already have a funny voice.
I have an amazing voice.
I have, like everybody has like those fake Zoom backgrounds with the ocean,
hmm
and I have a real ocean, but you're not gonna be able to see it soon, so that kind of sucks.
And in the meantime, maybe I'll throw like
So
a fake ocean behind me so that we're even. We look like we're
I'm here with my poor friend Tina without oceans in the
Yeah.
background.
No. I swear, we're both operating from equivalent luxurious spaces. Don't worry.
So, but my thinking is like kind of like what we talked about is like as we kind of set this up is kind of like have you as like a co-host that's also balancing off, me and whatever I'm saying and doing and thinking,
Whatever
yeah,
wacky
yeah,
bullshit you say.
whatever wacky shit I say. So like when I was in San Diego, I think I told you about like how I talked about like how I'm interested in the paranormal and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I was, so a bunch of people came up after and was like talking to me, and one of them was like, "Oh, I know this, I have a friend who's does all these like paranormal. He's a producer for all these paranormal shows and um, documentaries." He's like, "I'd love to introduce you." And so I reached out to him like a couple days ago, and I was like, "Hey, can you like introduce me to your friend?" And he's like, "It's my brother." I'm like, "Your brother?" And so I was like, "Oh, sweet." And so he introduced me on WhatsApp, and then I met with him this morning, and so he's done like all these, some of the shows that I've heard of that I've watched, but he's also his most recent projects were Mr. Beast. Like he did a couple things for Mr. Beast that were like some of the biggest things that
Oh.
that Mr. Beast has done. And so I'm talking to him now about working with me because I've explained what I want to do with like a YouTube channel.
Brother of a San
So
Diego guy.
so I explained what I wanted to do around creating like a paranormal show on YouTube. And really kind of, like my whole kind of like views around it with consciousness, like what I would want to see in a show that isn't currently happening. But anyways, like he's interested in working with us now. Had another meeting after that was with a psychic medium who's launching a supernatural podcast. And then a friend of hers or someone she's working with that's like kind of like a marketing networking person. So like once I start building all this up, she can help me get exposure. Which one do you like better? This one or this one?
Camera one, camera two. Do camera one, camera two. Camera one. Lion face. Rawr. Lemon face. Ooh. I feel like maybe camera one would be more conducive as things get dark.
Which one's one? Is that one?
No, the other one because it's gonna get darker in the background, so
All right.
I think
That's
that's probably better.
all right. I'm gonna have to like think of like kind of like a podcast intro, which I don't currently have.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, anyway, so I was telling you that stuff to kind of like give you some I don't know, like get you excited that maybe down the road there will be more than 6 people listening to us.
Bring some professionalism, bring in people that know what the hell they're doing. Hey, that's pretty exciting.
Exactly. And I think the name is going to be Ghost Critic. That's definitely the
Ghost.
name for the YouTube. Uh but like it's very well kind of like just describes what I'm doing, like ghost
Okay.
hunting. But it also says in the title that there's some skepticism involved. And
Is that what I'm here for?
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm skeptic. I'm
The resident poo-pooer.
yeah, that exactly. I'm skeptic. You're a poo-pooer.
I don't want to settle on resident poo-pooer because I feel like we could workshop that a bit, but maybe something else.
It's French.
Yeah, poo-pooer.
Uh,
It's not a hard R.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Cassie. All right. So I'm here with my long-term friend, long-time friend, not long-term, short-term friend, Tina. she's a co-host for my new podcast. So so we're exploring, or I'm exploring the paranormal and consciousness, and she's exploring my lack of consciousness. So
Keep you grounded.
keep me grounded. So she's going to be on the new host on Ghost Critic. So we thought we'd kick this off and have a little conversation around consciousness and free will. So this is going to be kind of an informal conversation. Tina and I shooting the shit to see, I don't know, see if we can film a podcast and get it posted.
All
And
signs point to no so far. But
over time, this will become more professional.
yeah,
The funny thing is, I have like a podcast studio at the office, but
you have an entire studio.
I have an entire studio, but I decided instead to shoot this from the corner of my bedroom.
Ditto.
So we have no guest today, so I apologize for that.
I make no
But
apologies.
we will have guests in the future that Tina and I will ask questions, and so the guests will be, let's see, we'll be talking about things like near-death experience, reincarnation, paranormal, but also quantum physics, neurology, metaphysics. So it's going to be a broad range of topics, while at the same time I'm also launching a YouTube channel where I will be filming and creating episodes of me and a team doing paranormal investigations. So, Tina, what do you want to talk about today? So, let's start with let's get right to the meat of it because I think you and I don't know. I guess it's a good question. I don't know if we see eye to eye on this or we don't. You might just be playing devil's advocate, but I would say like as we look into consciousness, what was really like has made me not like I mean yes explore consciousness but lean more towards that consciousness exists separate from form. So I guess like there's a couple things here like to kind of think about like consciousness, like what is it, like what does that mean, and for me it means that there's this awareness that exists separate from form. So what that means is that you have your body, you have your brain. Um, your brain is made out of neurons. There's chemical reactions. You start going, deeper, further down. You get into molecules, you get into atoms, you get into particles, and then you get into particles that, that exist essentially, or not essentially, but as energy. And those particles function or exist in a superposition, which I don't want to get too deep on like the quantum physics and stuff, but I guess what I'm getting at is you have matter, all right? So we'll talk about like that's matter, right? So matter is what you feel when you try to run through a wall and you get bounced back and fall on your ass. And so what I'm essentially saying is that there's this consciousness that exists. That's who you really are, and let's say that it exists before you're alive or after your form is dead, but that's separate from your brain and your body. And at the heart of that is this question of whether or not we have free will, right? And so my thinking is like, well, if we don't have free will, then the perception of consciousness or the perception of free will is simply an illusion. So it's we've evolved. You have the Big Bang. There's an evolutionary process that has happened over time, and we're at this point now where these complicated organisms, and our brain is operating, and all it is simply a brain that reacts to its surroundings, that reacts to its environment, and we've just evolved in such a way that us having the perception of self-awareness is probably in our best interest for survival. And so we think that we're self-aware, but what we really are entities that are perhaps arguing that we're self-aware when we actually aren't. Um, so I guess like my first question to you, but I
Can
think
I
it does.
address what you asked in the first place, which is, are we aligned on this in the first
Yeah,
place?
I just puked a bunch of stuff out there.
You did. That was a lot. 5 minutes ago, you asked if we were on the same page, and I feel like I need to disentangle a lot of what you said there. So I think at the base level, like I believe that if our understanding of things so far in the world is correct, in that energy can either be created nor destroyed, then I do think that there's some energy that exists in people that might be that would exist divorced from our physical forms, if and when that comes to pass. However, the extent to which it is conscious in the sense that like the direct definition of consciousness, where it is like an awareness that you would have control over, I don't know. I think there is an energy for sure. Whether or not, our ability to reason or our awareness of things, what that looks like, I'm not sure. And how it manifests, I'm not sure. Like, does it continue on formless once it leaves our bodies later on? I don't know. Or does it like join with other forms of energy or other objects or something? Or does it go out into space and go someplace completely different that has nothing to do with our planet or life as we know it? I don't know.
Wow, so you don't know anything. You're not going to be you're no help at all.
I'm
You're,
liberal minded.
you're not a
I'm taking in information. I don't think you know, and I
hey,
don't think
I am
anyone actually
no.
knows.
Oh, hold tight. Just
We've had a lot of conversations.
brace yourself. No, I'm excited that you didn't go complete nihilism on me and make me depressed and feel
There's time for
like
that later.
like what would you need to be convinced that that there's some kind of consciousness or awareness that exists outside of form?
Well, I guess I would need a better definition of what consciousness outside of form meant. Like, what to what extent you're saying or you're asserting that consciousness exists? Is it
Right.
just an energy? Is it something that has like awareness, emotion, feeling? Is it something we can identify as attributable to a certain person or certain thing? Or what does that mean? I guess like define your terms more, and then I would,
All
then
right.
I could
I
reflect on
will
that.
define my terms better then. So a lot of us, let's just say like, spirit, the afterlife, right? Like, so you die and there's a part of you that goes on afterwards. And yes, that thing can reason, that thing can think. Um, so, so there's a
Would it be
lot.
like a ghost in the traditional sense?
Well, so there's a lot. Yeah, it goes in the traditional sense, but there's a lot of like thinking and arguments around that. I mean, this is one of the things that like kind of trips me up a lot, right? Is like, well, if there's spirit and there's consciousness, and if you die and there's life after death or whatever, like how can you right now not be aware of that, right? Like how is that necessarily a hard question to ask? Who's asking that question? Like if I'm sitting here saying like, is there consciousness or is there not consciousness? Well, don't you think I would know, right? Like like why is that something that is difficult for anybody to actually answer because it's such a like it's so instrumental upon like with our very existence, right? Like we're sitting here trying to, wonder like, okay, well, is there something to us, that is more than just this time that we have on Earth? And obviously I understand the desire for there to want to be more. I think a lot of times just with religion or with people's belief systems, like they're gonna believe in an afterlife because it brings comfort, right? Like it makes them
Yeah.
feel better about what might happen or where their loved ones might have gone. But at the same time, the thinking is that you're here in this human form and your your spirit, let's call it, like your spirit um is here, but it's getting like overridden by your human form. And what I mean by overridden, I mean by like the conditioning throughout your life. And so you get born and you spend your whole life being conditioned to act and behave a certain way, and that conditioning detaches you, or well, I shouldn't say detach, but separates you from consciousness, from like who you really are. And so, like a lot of the spiritual teachings, it's really about like seeing that conditioning, which would be called the ego, and understanding that there's this kind of dichotomy, which is you as your brain, which operates as an organ, like your heart, your lungs, which um, reacts and responds to your environment. It's been conditioned a certain way through, whether you've experienced trauma and everything that you've been through in life. Um, and so when something happens throughout the day, or you get asked a question, or something comes up, or you're presented with a challenge, all that conditioning will come into play. And it's easy to, I mean, an easy example would be like if you were a 3-year-old and you got attacked by a dog, then when you're 30-year-old, you might be terrified of dogs, even the nicest dogs, even, cute little Henrys, which I've actually seen. Like I've gotten in the elevator with Henry and had people be afraid, so that's some of the conditioning. And so you spend your life trying to like see that conditioning and then realize that that isn't who you really are, that you are actually this kind of the spirit or this entity that you know that actually exists outside of that conditioning. Um, so that's kind of like the philosophy, like the spiritual teachings, like whether or not that's what's really happening or really going on. I guess that's the question. I mean, that's kind of what I'm interested in exploring is trying to find, types of evidence that show that consciousness exists out of form. So that was why, like, I kind of like I was asking you, like, what evidence you would need um, to actually believe something like that.
I mean, it's a good question because I think about like, okay, we're all made up of all these particles, right? I mean, our current awareness is that there was some sort of big bang, created all these particles that come together. We're all made up of a bunch of carbon and a bunch of other stuff. When I think about consciousness in this way, I'm thinking like, okay, traditional, you think of ghosts, it's like someone that existed, your great grandmother or something that once was here in corpus, that is now like no longer has a body, but she's still kind of around and her energy is there and present. Well, does that look different? Does that energy have like some sort of, is it thinking? Is it feeling? Is it responsible for interacting with living things still? Is there like a plane of existence that's being crossed that we're unaware of? Um, and I kind of, I guess I would have to like think a bit more about what I would need to definitively say this exists because I lean on the side of something exists anyway, like some sort of energy, some sort of spirit does exist anyway. But the extent to which that spirit has awareness or is like the standard definition of consciousness, I think that's rather curious. So I think like in biological terms too, right? Like we know that forests, like trees in forests actually like are talking to each other. And when you have things like fungus underneath and like these mushrooms and these have these like fungal cell networks that are going underground and they like have some sort of communication style. And like when you put fungus in a maze, it can like solve a puzzle in a maze because there's some sort of connectivity between those, even though you don't think of like little spores as being, intelligent, but life is intelligent somehow. So um, I guess I lean, all that's to say, I do lean towards there being some sort of something, but what the extent of it, if there's actually ghosts walking around opening doors and throwing shit all around and scaring people or like sending signs, I don't know. I've had a couple experiences of my own that make me think that it's possible for things to communicate that are not like living in front of us, but I can't say whether that's my own wishful thinking or my own fear at play or if that's real.
I mean, I've had experiences. I've had like paranormal things like happen, and like I would be willing to accept that I'm maybe going crazy, but considering that it happens in isolated areas and not in other areas, right? Like then you would think, well, if I'm going crazy in one location, I'd probably go crazy in another location too, right? Um,
I disagree with that, but you can continue.
um, Yeah, but I mean, I've had things that have happened that I can't explain, and probably the most convincing thing that ever happened to me was when I was with my brother and we were at the house in Vermont and we were in my son's doorway. I'd given him like a whole tour of the house of like things that I'd seen, experienced, heard, um, like weird things that had happened, and we were in that doorway and we heard a kid's voice say something. I wish I'd had the EVP recorder going, the voice recorder going. I mean, but I didn't. And I was with my brother and my nephew. And when we heard it, I looked at my nephew, and my first response was, "That was him." And he was like, "No, that wasn't me." And so I looked at my brother, and then looked back at my nephew, and then we heard it a second time. And when we heard it a second time, we were both looking at him, and then we made eye contact. So we both had clearly heard something, and it sounded like it was right in between the three of us. And then we
Can
heard
you
it a third
describe
time.
what the noise was?
It sounded like a little kid. It sounded like a little boy, like just saying something. I mean, it happened so quick. Like if I had been recording, I probably could have gone back and like tried to make out what was being said. But
Yeah,
it was kind of startling. I shouldn't say startling because it wasn't like scary in a sense, but it was startling and like confusing. Like you're trying to figure out like what it was.
yeah.
All the things that have happened at that house. And this is a new house. This was built in 2015, and we were the first ones that lived there. Um, so I don't know. Maybe there's something on the land. I don't know.
Do you have any information about what was there prior to the house being built?
No, not yet. I guess like at the time when I was living in it, I probably didn't really want to know, but but you know, the thing is like there was so the only clue or that one thing is like when Paxton was under the age of 3, he used to always talk about something named Bobby. Like he's always like Bobby. Well, the land was as the whole like property of lands, like a whole development was owned by a guy named Bob Gallagher who died like a year before we moved there. And so I don't know. I don't know if there's a connection there,
Hmm.
but Paxton when he was young did used to talk about Bobby.
Did you
But
ever ask him for description about like where he was seeing Bobby, what Bobby looked
yeah,
like?
but he at that age like couldn't he wasn't very helpful. So um but even when we were there last time, this last Christmas, like I was downstairs watching TV and I heard from upstairs someone yell hello, and I went to the bottom of the stairs because I thought it was like either my son or my wife, and I was like, yeah, what do you want? And there was no response, and I got annoyed. I'm like, what? What do you want? And so then I went up the stairs, and then I opened Paxton's door, and he was in his chair playing video game, or he was on his iPhone, and I was like, did you just yell at me? And he's like, no. And then I shut his door, and then I went into the to our bedroom and Michelle was getting out of the shower and I told her, I was like, did you just yell down? And she's like, no. Told her what I heard and she said she heard someone also yell, hello. And so
Hmm.
that was odd. But there's a lot of stuff that's happened there and that I can't explain. Um, so, you know, I mean that piques your interest, right? That's like kind of like what's happening. And so that's really why I want to go more down like this this route. And, you know, I watch the ghost hunting shows and it's hard to like watch it and be like, you know, is this just for TV? Are they over
Yeah.
exaggerating? Are they you know, like if this was real, why are they leaving in like 2 days? Like like
Yeah.
why are we not calling National Geographic to be like, get your ass down here, like or Scientific America or something?
Right, or anyone else that does like more rigorous scientific paranormal investigations or things like that, or like exploring consciousness. I would be interested too to know what like with the what's going on neurologically. So, are people maybe right, if people experience something, it could be multiple things, right? It could be that something absolutely happened, and either A, it does not have like a any reasonable explanation, or B, it totally has a reasonable explanation, not a problem, or B, it didn't happen and there's something neurologically going on, or they're really suggestive, or maybe there's something physically, like, okay, well, they did hear something, but it's because like they have like something weird with like their I don't know, some kind of something's wrong with their inner ear or something, like they have some like random beginnings of tinnitus that they're not aware of or something like that, or they have like their vestibular reticulation that's messed up, or they have like something with their balance. I don't know.
But if it was like a lot of that, like any of those things, though, you would think, okay, now when I'm in this other location, it'd still be happening.
Yeah, but the other explanation could be that some people are just more either in general more suggestive and more open to having those experiences, or there is something that allows them to be perceptive of things that other people aren't perceptive of, but are real. They're not imagining them, they're not making them up, but they have some ability to tap into a different plane that not everyone necessarily has easy access to, whether because they like physically or like are not capable of it, or mentally they're not capable of it, or they just there's fear there that's blocking it. I don't know. So I think there's multiple explanations for that too. I'd kind of be interested to see if anyone's ever like walked around a haunted house and had like one of those caps on that shows what's going on in their brain, that does like brain scans or shows imagery to see what's lighting up when they're experiencing these things.
There was one that I was watching a show one time, and they'd used VR to simulate like kind of a like a well, it was like a cave, right? But they weren't really in a cave, but because they were so immersed in that environment, and they knew they weren't. I mean, they knew that they weren't in a haunted house.
Yeah.
But because the environment was the same, the brain started playing those tricks. It started like in the dark, it started hearing sounds and seeing images and things like that. So yeah, I mean, the brain does start doing that when it's deprived of information.
Yeah, when it's like your brain's natural state is to try to fill gaps by creating stories, right? To have information, whether it's true or not, or whether it's accurate. Like
Now,
not only that, but like and we know that even like heightened sense of fear. That's why people go to scary movies, is because they feel fear, even though they're totally safe sitting in their seat with their popcorn.
last time I was back in the Vermont house in Vermont, when I went out the garage door and forgot something and had to come back in, and the door was locked. And I'm like, well, that's weird. How'd the door lock? And then I go around the front, and then I go back to the garage door, and I pull the handle, and I notice that it unlocks when you pull the handle. So so in other words, if the door was shut and it was locked beforehand, when I opened the door, it would have unlocked. So the only way to lock that door is to either have the door closed and someone is behind the door and locks it, or you open the door and lock it and then shut it behind you without turning the handle.
Yes, that's one explanation.
Well, that's one explanation. What would the other explanation be?
Maybe there just could be loose things in there that cause the lock to naturally fall one way. I
No.
don't know.
Oh, I've had that happen in that house in another room too, which was Paxton's room, where the door where I got locked in his room, and that was also at the
You got
same.
locked in his room? There was a lock on the outside of the door? Or you
No,
got
well, no,
locked
it.
out of his room?
I mean, I was in his room and it locked while I was in his room. I mean, I could get out. I could just unlock it. Like
Right.
I was in his room and it locked. I wasn't locked in his room.
Was that the same type of door that was in the garage door?
Same type of door.
So it does
Except,
suggest there's
except,
maybe a
except,
propensity for it to turn.
well, except this door doesn't, that door didn't unlock when you turn the handle. It stayed locked if you tried to turn the handle.
Okay.
But here's one thing though, and I agree. Like I can't, I certainly wouldn't say, oh yeah, that's haunted. I would not jump to that conclusion right there. But this is, let me give you the type, kind of like the totality of events, right? Like so that same night right before that happened, Paxton had just gotten a new, so he was like 2.5 at this point, and he had just gotten like a new shark stuffed animal with a little blankie on it. And so that was his like, the toy he wanted to sleep with at that moment. And so he didn't want to go to bed without it. And so Michelle and I were looking like everywhere for it. Like, I mean, we tore his room apart, went throughout the whole house, and we could not find it. Like, I mean, we're just like, okay, well, after like, I don't know, it was like 30, 40 minutes of searching. We're just like, whatever, we're just going to get him to sleep without it. And so we went back to his room, and the stuffed animal was sitting right in the middle of his bed in plain sight. And we're like,
Is there any possibility that Paxton thought this was hilarious? Because he's a funny kid.
no, he did not think it was Cyrus, and he was pretty young at that point. Well, but it
Okay.
was so we lay down to go to bed, we would lay in bed with him to get him to fall asleep. And it was like a minute and a half after laying there. That was when I was like, oh, I forgot something downstairs. And I got up and the door was locked. I was like, well, that's weird. So those
Mm.
things happen at the same time. There was another time like at that same door. And this is why I was telling my brother, like, this is kind of where like a lot of things are centered around. Um, but the baby monitor went off one night and I got up and I'm a light sleeper anyway. So I got up, I walked over to his room. I opened his room door like a crack and I looked in and I saw him sleeping. And at the same time, like I heard like a kid, like screaming behind me. Like it startled me, and I jumped around. And obviously, there was nothing there. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, like anyone that has experiences when they're sleeping, I
Yeah.
tend to dismiss out of hand because it's too easy to
Yeah.
be like, well, you're sleeping, you just weren't fully awake.
Yeah.
At this point, like I'd gotten up, heard the baby monitor, walked across the room, walked in the hallway, opened the door. Like I was pretty, I was pretty wide awake, and I'm a light sleeper, anyhow.
Yeah.
Like I was in the Marine Corps. I'm a former Marine, and like I just like when I'm up, I'm up. Like I'm alert.
Oh, yeah, I tend to be more skeptical of people's stories when they're sleeping as well because I also am a very light sleeper and I wake up immediately and I'm able to function and do stuff. That being said, I've also experienced weird things like sleep paralysis and I have done my fair share of sleepwalking or talking in my sleep. So, throughout my life. So, and I have seen crazy stuff when I have been, I either thought I was awake and I was still dreaming or was somewhere in some in between state. So I kind of tend to want to know more. And I would like to know, it's always a question of have there been, were there any sleep aids or was there any, all of these experiences would have to be devoid of something else. So like I think a lot of people, they want to take certain things in order to open their minds up, but I feel like everything is you have to take that with, some skepticism as well. If you're taking anything that alters your consciousness in any way, shape, or form for any reason, you have to take that into consideration when you're considering your experiences as well. Like if I had a melatonin or if people see weird shit on Ambien, well, you're on Ambien, or whatever it is.
5 shots of Johnny Walker and a couple
Yeah, if you just down a bottle of
psilocybin.
yeah, exactly. You just I maybe
Okay, well,
think harder about that.
at that same door, or well, so so there's a hallway, and then you have Paxton's door, and then our bedroom door. And so that bedroom door, I wasn't there, but my dad and stepmom were staying there, and she was in our bedroom, and she turned around and she said the handle of the bedroom door was shaking like that. And she thought it was my dad or somebody outside in the hallway playing a joke. And so she opened the door and no one was there. And then went to the top of the stairs and yelled down, and everybody was downstairs and said they weren't playing a joke. And that's all like in that same like kind of intersection, which is really weird. So now it's like you're getting things that are happening with other people too.
Yeah, that's interesting. What were all these experiences kind of in the same time frame too?
No,
Was there like a common was there like an event that happened that these coalesced around, or was it the entire time you were living there and present in the house?
yeah, no, it's been over like a considerable amount of time. Like something like happened once every month or something, so it was like fairly infrequent.
Well,
Um,
that's pretty consistent and frequent if it's every month. I mean, how many years were you there? That's a lot.
4 or 5, yeah.
That's a lot. So you've had maybe 50 weird experiences in this house.
Yeah, I've had quite a few. A lot of people. My brother was sleeping on the couch, and he said he heard the cabinets in the kitchen opening and shutting. Michelle, like several times, has been down in the basement working because that's where she set up her desk. And I'd be gone with Paxton, and she would text me or call me because she thinks we're home and asking if we're home. She hears the door open and hears someone walking upstairs. Oh,
Well, I would say too, like, I mean, I don't think this is applicable in your case because it's a newer home, but like, I know when I would stay at someone's house and their house was built in like 1901 or something like that. And it was an old Victorian home. And it also had like, it was 2 stories plus it had like a cellar plus it had an attic that you had it like full on stairs walking towards, not one of those like pull things from the ceiling. It was like you open a little door and there's a tiny staircase that went up. And it was really creepy. A lot of times I would be over there and it would sound like someone was walking up the stairs. But part of living in old homes too is knowing that there's like that, as things like expand and contract with moisture, especially because a lot of it's wood, it will like as the air releases, it does like pop. And if someone had been walking, it will pop in sequence. So it often sounds like someone's walking. At
well,
least that's what I've heard. Or it could just be that place was straight up haunted. I don't know.
when we were downstairs watching TV, like probably I don't know, like almost every night we'd hear like banging upstairs, but like my rationale was, and it was very similar. Like, my rationale was it was just settling, and of course in Vermont you have like huge temperature changes and things like
Yeah.
that. So I didn't put any stock in it. One thing that was kind of weird though is like whenever I was upstairs, I never heard it. So I always commented on that. I'm like, I want to try to figure out like what that is, but like anytime I was upstairs, it never happened. So I don't know.
When you, so it happened on in the basement. You could hear stuff when you were in the basement and when you were on the first floor,
Well,
but
well,
not when you
this
were on the second floor.
this was when we would be watching TV on the first floor and we'd hear it up the stairs on the second floor.
Is there any possibility it was like something, like an animal in the attic or like something weird in the ducts or something like
No, it
that?
wouldn't be bad. It's more likely like settling. I mean, I really didn't think anything of it. Like I didn't think it was paranormal. But just as I think back on it, like I realized like it never happened when I was actually upstairs, which
That was interesting.
I guess I should be investigating that house.
Yeah, I was gonna say why I mean and like full disclosure, I've stayed at your house before too.
Well,
I was only there, but I was only there like what 3, 4 days, maybe five, four
yeah.
days. So and I didn't experience anything weird
Well, the thing is
except my
like
scalp being tingly after tea tree oil shampoo, but that's about it.
testing.
Maybe it goes for massaging me while I was in your shower.
Next month I'm going up to the Hinsdale house, which is outside of Buffalo, and that
Mm.
guy, Daniel, his name, he bought a haunted house. It was like 12 years ago or something. I don't know. But I'm gonna do an investigation up there. But I'm really interested to pick his brain because he bought it because it was haunted, and so I'd be curious to see what his approach has been since he purchased it on collecting data, and
Yeah.
if
How
he's
old is that
does he
house?
have it like um I don't know. It looks pretty old. Doesn't look like it's in that great a shape, but he said he had to fix
Mm.
it a lot. When he bought it, he had to do a lot of work to get it like fixed up. So I don't think he's living in it though. I don't know.
Mm.
I haven't really been able to spend much time learning about it yet. But
Yeah, that'd be super interesting to know what his experiences were and what
and
data he
this
has to support it.
and this weekend, I'm going to South Carolina to stay in a haunted cabin for 3 days. By the way, I don't know if I told you that.
I think you mentioned you were thinking about it, but I did not know you were going. Is that where you're going tomorrow?
Saturday. We're gonna drive up Saturday.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
You
I
bringing
got
the
some.
whole crew with you to document it?
It's just me and one other guy, well, which is Jeff. So he's like kind of my partner in crime on the investigations. And yeah, Jeff. I'm not talking about myself in the third person.
Jeff number
Yes,
two.
I'm going with me. We refer to ourselves as Jeff Squared, but
Yeah.
another Jeff and I are going
Mhm.
up, and then Cassie's not going on this one, but she'll probably be going on future ones. The owners are going to be there, and then there's the grandfather who has doesn't live there because it's just like a vacation cabin, but he's been going there for 45 years, and he's a former Marine, and so he's gonna let me interview him and get some of his experiences and stories. And I bought some really sweet equipment. I bought a camera, like this like $3,000 camera and a $3,400 lens. And then the gimbals, because the camera's so heavy, is like $1,100. So this is like a $7,600 because it's got to be able to record in like nearly pitch darkness.
What's a gimbal?
Oh, the gimbal's like the thing that it goes on to keeps it like level.
Stable?
Yeah.
Okay. Since you are a lot more well versed in the literature and previous studies about this,
All
but
literature compared to you.
that's just false. It's like categorically false. But um, what are if you do capture something, is it thought that spirits or energy or consciousness has like you can view it with an infrared lens, or it does have a thermal footprint?
Well, if if the ghost hunting shows are actually not pulling our legs, then yes, the answer is yes. But
Okay,
I'm
what's
still
the
gonna try to.
explanation for that? Why would it be hot?
Well, somehow it's manifesting as some form of energy, right? Like, I mean, like
Mm.
everything's energy. So even if there's some kind of consciousness or spirit or something that's occurring, then it's got to be some type of energy. I think the thought is that spirits use energy to interact, and so so they might leave like like maybe a handprint that's heated or something, or maybe they were sitting in a chair or whatever. I don't know. I don't. I always kind of wonder, like, if you're a spirit and you're walking like on the floor, making like footsteps, like why? Like why don't you just go through the floor? Or like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that are very convenient for hauntings, right?
Of
Like it's very
course.
convenient that you hear footsteps. Well, of course you hear footsteps. Well, why would you?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I feel like I would hear the shower curtain moving when something takes a shower just as much as like it walking around the house.
Yeah. Maybe it's that do you think that like spirits are taking on energy that isn't their own in order to manifest
Yeah.
themselves?
When we were in, I didn't show you, I don't think I showed you this footage, but when we were in St. Augustine a couple weeks ago. We were in this house, I forget what it was called, but some old house though. And we were in one of the rooms, and the thing is it was all being recorded. Like the group or the I don't remember the name of the organization, but they do ghost hunting tours or whatever. But they have IR cameras in each one of the room, and so one of the things is like what you pay for is they send you the video from each room afterwards, and so they just send it to you in like the cloud, and you can watch it. Well, there's one point we're in a room, and this is probably like 10 or 15 minutes from us being there, and Cassie is holding she's got a gimbal that has her phone in it, and so she's just recording with her iPhone. And there's a spirit box in there, and the spirit box, I don't know, I don't put like very much stock in the spirit box unless
Can you explain what a spirit box
so,
is?
so a spirit box, it just flips through. It can be AM or FM. It just flips through radio stations. So it's just going like through radio stations. And so the idea is if there's a spirit that wants to kind of like manifest in the white noise, it can do it over multiple frequencies. So if you got like a sentence or a multiple syllable word, it's unlikely that it would be across multiple different frequencies, like multiple different radio stations. And if you ask very specific questions and you get like a specific answer, um, then that kind of like validates that maybe there's something there. Um,
Sorry, is the thought process that if you ask a specific question, that the answer will be manifested over the radio waves of multiple
right.
stations or one station?
Well, it's gonna have to do it over multiple stations. I mean,
Because it's
yeah. I
constantly
mean, if it was
flipping
one
through.
syllable, you might hear it across one station. But if it's, a multiple syllable, then it
Hmm,
has to be across, multiple. And sometimes you'll get like sentences too. Um,
that's interesting.
yeah. But
Okay.
so we were getting like there, I mean, I'll admit, like I heard Jeff, but I mean Jeff is I mean, it's like a one syllable if, like it's such a common thing that I'm not gonna put a lot of stock in it. And so I was kind of like, well, what's my last name? type of thing. So then Cassie heard F.
It was a douchebag.
I
No,
said, oh,
okay.
you want me to invite Tina next time?
Touche.
Well, and then I was like trying to get to say my name, and it says F, and then Cassie's like, "Oh, that was it. It definitely said your name." I'm like, "No, it didn't definitely. It was not definite." And then right then her phone, and it's all kind of camera, all of a sudden like collapses forward, and
Mm,
she kind of like freaks out because she's like, "What was that? Like that wasn't me. That wasn't me." Well, the gimbal that was fully charged also it went completely dead. It was completely drained. Well,
mm.
when you look at the video. And I don't put stock into orbs because it's too easily dust or a bug or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Camera. Like it could be anything. Well, when you look at the video, you do see maybe it's dust or bug, I don't know, but you see like a little white ball that goes like over her shoulder, right towards her phone, and then you see it disappears for a second, and then you see like it's on like an arc, and then it comes out below the phone, like across the floor. And so it's like it goes right through the phone, and it happens like right at the same time that the gimbal goes dead and the phone
Mm,
like built. So it was a weird coincidence, but.
yeah, that's
But
interesting.
I had a lot of weird things happen, but I want to get more definitive stuff, and so that's why I want to start staying places for longer durations. Um, and I don't know, maybe at some point buy like a haunted location and really do like a thorough investigation.
Yeah,
But I kind of want to like I want to experience things, I want to get things, but I want to use like my credibility as like a Marine, a business owner, and be like, look, like I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm trying to disprove this first. So if I catch something or see something or experience something, I'm trying to be as like rational and as objective as possible. Even though you have punched many holes in my stories tonight.
I'm just trying to think
But
through all possibilities because
but
again, like I'm very open
I
to
will I will run them by you first, and then that they'll be the Tina test.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
these will also be like conversations we'll like when we have guests on, right? And we can kind of like, you know, be good cop, bad cop. You can be the bad cop.
So I do find it curious, if it's possible that like, just thinking about, okay, what's the reasoning for why some people experience stuff and other people don't? And I'm curious if there's a possibility if we think that like, if consciousness does exist outside of this or ghosts, I'm just gonna call it ghosts for right now, but ghosts like exist and if they have to harness energy in order to manifest themselves somehow, I'm curious if like there's certain scenarios where there's more energy being expelled, which makes them able to harness that energy somehow. So like I don't know, maybe if you have a higher body heat because you're scared of something or because you have a heightened sense of awareness or something, and so you're burning more calories or like you have more, like if you were to show up differently because you're giving off like more of an electrical signal somehow. Again, I don't have any idea, but maybe that's a way that like there's more there's more energy available to harness somehow for something. I don't know. Again, very open to many possibilities.
I've allowing myself to be open to all the spiritual stuff, welcoming them in, despite a lot of caution that people are trying to warn me. But I think I'm in a very good emotional state, so I'm not
Well,
really
maybe that's the
worried.
problem. Maybe if you're maybe if you're
I have
not like
more trauma going on.
yes, exactly. Or like maybe if you went for like a jog or something beforehand, and so you have an elevated heart rate or something. You know what I mean? Like, and so you have more body heat. You have an elevated
Well,
heart rate.
so this is what I was going to say though. Like, so this minute, so Henry, my dog, and he like never barks, never freaking barks. Very, very, very rare he'll bark. And then there was one day like he was barking at something. And I'm on the 14th floor, so he was barking at something in the condo, and I don't know, maybe it was something outside, but like I said, we're 14 floors up, but it looked like he was focused on something. I'm like, oh, what are you barking at? Well, then it was like a week later. I'm sleeping, and at 1:30 in the morning, he wakes me up barking. And there's no other time. I mean, I've had him for, he's a puppy. He's like 9 months, so I've had him for like 4 or 5 months now. But there's no other time he's ever woken me up barking. And I'm like, Henry, like, get back to sleep, stop it. And so then I'm laying there, and like a minute and a half later, like I thought I heard like what sounded like a kid say Henry. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, but I mean, I'm in bed, so I've got to dismiss it, right? I mean, I didn't feel tired. I mean, normally it takes me a while to fall back to sleep. Well, then, like, probably like a week ago, he starts doing the thing where he's barking at something again, and it was like at the front door. So I'm like, okay, let me go check this out. So I walked over like into where he was barking, and I'll admit it could be psychological, creating a physiological response, but I felt like something. Like I felt like almost, I think it was kind of like the feeling like a lot of people can just describe like if they think something's watching them. Like there's that kind of like that fear, and you get that like tingling and that like kind of that uncomfortable sensation. And that's
Yeah.
what I was feeling standing there. Except I just stood there and kind of like allowed myself to feel it, and kind of thinking like what's here, like what is Henry barking at? And maybe he was barking at nothing. I don't know. Maybe it's all psychological. But I'm definitely like kind of opening up to you know stuff. And when that happens, I'm like when that happened, like it doesn't like it interests me. Like I want to kind of like experience that. Like I'm not like freaking out being like, oh shit, like what am I? Like if I get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, like I'm in the dark, I'm kind of like looking around like, oh maybe I see like a shadow figure move out of the corner of my eye.
I'm just hoping that at some point, like some ghost like high fives you on the way to the bathroom, and you're like,
I plan.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, you're up. Tells you to give it a beat. Don't go in there just yet. Something
Yeah.
fun. Like, just
And
something
woo,
fun.
light a match.
Something. Yeah, exactly. This would be more exciting to me because it's kind of also my thought is I wonder if in order to have a paranormal experience, does that mean that something traumatic had to happen? Is there like something that kept, a spirit around if they exist that kept them here rather than doing whatever else all the other spirits that aren't here do, I guess, or
Yeah.
that didn't release the energy further, I guess. Um, so
Well,
that'd be kind of a bummer if all you ever see is people
I
that like
have
had something
theories on
horrible
that.
happen.
I have a lot of theories on that. The only way this is going to like really work. Now, keep in mind, like I'm not trying to do this on like mainstream TV. Like this is like I want to be able to control it. That's why I want to do it on YouTube. But the only way this is going to work is if they get like raw Jeff, like real Jeff.
I don't think we've ever been able to control Jeff, period. So I don't think that would be problematic. I think just knowing good sense boundaries at some point.
Well, that's why I need to be on the cast.
I'm in. I'm in. I mean, I certainly would probably give off a lot more of that. If
Attract
any
them.
kind of spirits manifest, well, if spirits need extra energy to manifest, I will probably undoubtedly be a lot more scared than you going into some of these situations,
Oh,
even though I feel like I'm a lot more skeptical in some ways. So it'll be interesting.
yeah.
The dynamic will be mixed.
When we were at the old jail in St. Augustine, because that was another one we did there. Like I was in the solitary confinement, and I was completely comfortable. Like other people
Mhm.
were having to leave and they
Yeah,
weren't
but what
comfortable.
if there are some ghosts that are capable of giving off like calming sensations, like pheromones too? You don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
spirits are all around us, and sometimes, depending on what kind of response they want to elicit from living things, they give out or project some certain things that affect humans somehow.
maybe, but I was in solitary confinement, so that would be interesting if that's where that was happening. I feel that I'm giving off that. So,
Maybe.
um,
Maybe. That's why I think you should experiment with different things. So, first of all, like I suppose I don't know if the people that you take on this, if they will be imbibing certain things that make them more susceptible to different experiences, but you should have that as like one experience, I guess, if that happens. And then if you have people that have nothing that they're taking, that could be interesting. Although depending on your genetic makeup and what's going on in your brain anyway, it doesn't really necessarily mean that you have like an unadulterated experience, but that should be something. And then maybe someone takes a jog, so they got their heart rate really far up, and then maybe someone's really scared, and then someone doesn't believe anything, and they think all this is
well,
bullshit, and they walk in totally cold, and just to see what the different experiences are.
I mean, that's all fair. I mean, if we're doing like like a real like scientific approach, right? Like we've got to, we got to kind of test everything and see what kind of responses we get.
True, but I mean, that being said, it all is going to be anecdotal because I don't think we could have like a big enough sample size to make like statistically significant results. But within our own experiences, you could have
Well,
like a lot of qualitative data.
here's the thing: is like I like, and I don't. I mean, I was watching like an episode of Ghost Hunters, and there was one where like they had this like cabinet in like the bottom, like at the end of the stairs, like in a hallway, and the claim was that the door opens up, and so they put a camera at the top of the stairs looking down at the cabinet, and yeah, sure enough, they catch on film the door opening. Well, I mean, that could be any number of things. And of course, you'd want to, at the very least, make sure it's not a hoax,
Yeah.
but you also like make sure that the floor is level and this and that. And so they went and got two-sided Velcro like sticky tape. And so they stuck the door shut with Velcro.
Hmm.
It was going to take some force now to open it up. And then it opened up again, and they caught that on tape. So, that's consistent and it's compelling evidence. Well, of course, it's TV, so they're like, okay, well, we got enough content, so what are we going to stick around for? We can produce our show, so let's move on. Well, I mean, if there was like that consistency to it, especially when you even correct like t did a test to make it have to use more force, I'd be like, okay, well, this is where we're focused for the next month. This
Yeah.
is where
Yeah. To see if you could
we're
replicate it.
yeah, like let's see
Yeah.
what consistency, and then if there is consistency and I can replicate it, then I'm calling in, some kind of scientific journal or whatever, and
Yeah,
being
for
like,
sure.
look at like this keeps happening. Like you tell me what it is. Like I've looked at everything to try to disprove it.
Yeah. Just consulting all these like various subject matter experts that could like,
So
give alternative explanations.
yeah, so that's like the only way to like try to like to not make it anecdotal. But then it's like, well, if there is a consciousness there or whatever, maybe it knows you're watching and isn't going to always perform. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're talking about anecdotal stuff, and this is going to have to be a separate podcast, but like you start talking about like near-death experiences and reincarnation and just like some of the research that's been done around down on that and the consistency between stories. Um, but
That's definitely
I
interesting.
mean, just because it's anecdotal, I mean, because I mean, the like I think I've told you, but like the University of Virginia has their division of perceptual studies, and they've got like 50 years of like research um, on reincarnation and NDEs, which is really compelling.
What is their overarching conclusions on all that?
They don't make a conclusion. They don't know.
They're
They're
just
just collecting
gathering data.
data. Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't
I
want to
kind of feel
bias
like,
it.
yeah, your best case scenario is that you'll be able to say this definitely happened
Right.
to all available perception, from the people that were here, or for the, whatever we were able to record or whatever data we were able to get, but so we know something happened. We don't know what it is or why it is, but this is something we can't explain through, you know,
Yeah.
no available information here.
Well, that's all I'm looking for right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll go from there. Let me get that first, and then I'll try to try to
I
explain.
mean, you already have anecdotally like several experiences, so you're starting from a place where you already have stuff, but I'll be interested to see how your trips go.
Um, so yeah, so everybody who's listening, you can look forward to more fascinating conversations with me and perhaps Tina if I invite her back. But
How dare you?
yeah, more fun podcasts coming up with Tina and I, and we will be interviewing other people. We'll be interviewing, you know, mediums, people that have had their own ghost experiences, maybe quantum physicists, neurologists, all kinds of people that want to weigh in on what consciousness is and maybe what ghosts are or if they're real.
I feel like we should include some people that are different religions too, or have strong beliefs in their various religions about whatever is
Buddhists,
happening.
maybe some priests that have done exorcisms. That
That
might
would be
that
incredible.
might be pretty cool.
It might be scary, but it could be awesome. I also don't want to invite bad shit. I don't know if it's ghosts or vampires or those aren't real, but like whatever it is, I'm not inviting anything negative into my life. I just want to put that out into the universe first
You
in
can
case anything
those,
weird happens.
leave those with me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Tina, for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having
And I will talk to you later.
me. Bye.
Bye.